I have 9 companies, and all of our companies are in different markets. So we're in different phases in each area that we operate in. Action Coaches, Joshua mentioned, we trade in 81 countries. So again, we've had different levels of opening, reopening. We've got some markets that are fully reopened and some markets that are in full lockdown still. Some markets that are about, here in the States, we're starting reopen phase 3. Australia is in phase 2 in certain markets. So it's been interesting times. Now, I want to go backwards a little step. 12 weeks ago, approximately, as to where this thing really started to kick in for us as business people. And what happened over the last 12 weeks is basically a speed up of the virtualization of the world of business. So if you take the world as to where we were and you understand that we were moving virtual, now we've leaped ahead 5 to 10 years. So we've got a level of virtual now that is basically what would have happened for maybe in 10 years. People are so willing to get on Zoom calls, go to meetings. People are so willing to do that. People have worked out how to work virtually. They've worked out that they can work from home in many cases. And it's been an interesting, from an economic viewpoint. This is my 4th economic downturn running my businesses. And I'm very happy to admit that the first economic downturn, I did not know what I was doing. Approximately 30 odd years ago, I had no real idea. And I thought that the best way to get through this is to put my head down and wait it out. And of course, that's not the best way to get through these things. It is definitely not the way I should have done it. The second time I went through an economic downturn, and it's interesting because those economic downturns were really economic downturns. If you look at the internet bubble, if you look at the real estate bubble, all of these things that were across the board, everybody suffered. It wasn't like this one. See, in this one, you've got approximately a third of business. Now, it's different in different markets. Me here in Las Vegas, we obviously had a lot more people shut down because our biggest employers are the casinos. Whereas certain other markets like my hometown in Australia, Brisbane, Australia, not as many businesses shut down. No big businesses at least were shut down. They were made to go virtual, but they weren't shut down. And so, but around the world, it's approximately a third of businesses have been shut down fully. Then you have approximately a third of businesses that found a way to survive, found a way to get through this whole thing, and found a way to keep their businesses running. And maybe they were down a bit in sales, maybe they were up a bit in sales, but they found a way to get through this whole thing without challenge of magnitude like the shutdowns. And then you have another third of businesses, again, approximately, depends on the market that, or the city or the town that you're in, where there's approximately a third of businesses that are absolutely booming during this thing. I was chatting with one of our clients in the UK just the other day, and they're in the jigsaw puzzle business. Prior to this economic pandemic, their coach asked them, how are we doing with stock? And they said, we have approximately a year's worth of stock on the shelves. We're looking good. Everything's fine. Well, within 4 weeks, they were sold out of all of that back stock. They went into triple overtime. They had to recruit and hire people to manufacture. And stories of companies that have been in boom during this thing, and you've seen them, whether they're the grocery store businesses or whether it's, I look at one of my friends has a small butcher shop. Well, his small butcher shop was deemed essential in the market he's in Melbourne, Australia. And amazingly enough, he's had more sales in the last 12 weeks than he ever did. Now, why do I bring that up? Because approximately a third of businesses booming and approximately a third of businesses staying afloat and about a third being shut down. If you add to that government handouts, and the governments of the UK, the US, Australia, New Zealand, there's been many governments that have been very generous. There's other governments that have not been that generous, South Africa and Portugal, where they literally said, no, we're not doing anything. If you can't survive, you can't survive. And so but if you take the majority of the larger markets that have done stuff for their business owners and done stuff for their people to get through this thing, and like just the US numbers, just to give you an understanding, in 2008 to 2010, the president then, Barack Obama, issued $800 billion to restart the economy and reignite the economy. This time around, the US government is at $2.5 trillion so far, with discussions for another $3.5 trillion economic bailout. And that's annual GDP put into a bailout. So that's an amazing thing if that happens, and what that will lead to from an economic viewpoint is massive. So when you add those things together, I see us coming out of this thing in a very fast pace. As we see markets reopening, Germany is probably the leader in the reopening phases. We watch economies rebound. I look at stock markets around the world, and stock markets, they were all at almost record highs, or on average, they're at record highs. And all of a sudden now we see them ready to bounce back. Only, they dropped 30 to 40 points right in the beginning, but as we all know, some of the smartest people in the world work in those industries. And we sit there thinking about it, that they're only 5 and 10 and 15% off their record highs. There's something going on there. So, but we live in crazy times of not knowing what to do and all of that. So here's my best 9 things that I think to get yourself racing. Now, I will state, if you want to go backwards a ways, what I started teaching 12 weeks ago, you'll see all my webinars. If you go to my YouTube channel or my Facebook page or LinkedIn, you'll see all of the webinars I've done right through, including how to market during this virtual viral episode, including how to lead through this. So all of those are there if you do want to go backwards and see other things and get other lessons around that. Now, when we reopen, let's take a look at this thing. You don't want to get caught flat-footed. That's probably the first thing. So let's go to the presentation and start looking at what we need to do. Obviously, we've got to be prepared. We've got to use common sense, and the cleanliness has to be, marketing-wise going forward, cleanliness and safety are going to be a thing. They're going to be that. Now, again, if I break the market down of customer base, there's about it's not going to be a third, but let's say there's 3 groups of people. There's the group of people that couldn't care less. They're coming out no matter what as soon as they're allowed to. And that is a good percentage of the marketplace. We've seen that the world over, that they're allowed to, as soon as they're allowed out, they're going to be out. And then you've got a group in the middle that is more, they're still going to come out, but they're going to be safe about it. They're going to be smart about it. They're going to be distanced, and they're going to wear the masks and gloves and keep themselves that. And then you've got a group in the market that are just not coming out. And if they're in that high risk group, then absolutely that makes sense. But here's what we as business people need to be looking at. We as business people need to be looking at the fact that we need people to see and feel that they are safe. We need them to watch you. They need to watch you clean. They need to see the face masks. They need to see what's happening. And therefore, there's protective equipment or protective screens or that sort of thing in place. I know my wife, I have 5 kids. I'm not sure about you, but homeschooling has been very interesting. And I believe their teacher lied. They are not a pleasure to have in class, especially my twin 6-year-olds. It's like, no. But anyway, my wife took 2 of our daughters to get their nails done when they were first allowed to. And the nail place literally had acrylic barriers between the technician and the person, and between each table, so that there was no concern for people. They were sitting in their own cubicle, I guess, to have their nails done. And so people seeing it and feeling it is going to be the major part of that. And even in your marketing, which we'll get to in just a moment, that needs to be seen. It needs to be a part of what you're doing and how you're preparing for this whole thing. So make that certain. And it's not just for your customers. It's so that your team feels confident coming back to work. Remember, they've got to feel confident too, not just your customers coming back in. Now, I say rebuild your team is the second thing, because what we're sitting here looking at right now for most of us is that our team, they're in the same boat as the customers out there. They're in that same boat of fear and worry and you know, if we can put it down to a simple thing, it's that most people don't know how to respond to this thing. So fear and worry is the big part of it. I still believe that we're going to have to be a little flexible with our people. We're going to have to allow virtualness for certain people. I know in some of our companies, we have some older people who work for us who have pre-existing conditions. And we've said to them, yes, we're very happy for you to stay at home. We're very happy for you to continue working from home. And I think for them, that's made them feel much better. And remembering that productivity doesn't come if people are worried. Productivity doesn't come if there's fear, if there's, you know, if they are worried about things. Even simple things like, you know, we've, in some of our office complexes where we have our staff, we've added doorbells and kept the door locked because we don't just want anyone walking into the business at these points, you know. In our more retail-focused businesses, having screens between the customer and the staff, so that there is a screen at facial height type thing, and just things like that that have given them confidence to come back to work. Flexibility in hours. Let me just touch back on that one. You know, we've learned in the last 12 weeks that virtual work does work. It can work. And by flexible hours, we've still got to remember that some of these people have kids and, you know, again, it's coming up to summer break. And so if they're going to be working from home, maybe they have to start early and finish late and have a middle of the day, have some time off and things like that. Now, the third part of rebuilding your team is the community aspect of your team. Communication. In times of change, communication needs to be at an all-time high. We must communicate more. We must communicate as much as possible, and preferably by video. If we're communicating by video, in this day and age, it's much better for most people. Now, building of community, one of the things that we've looked at with all of the people in all of our companies is that there are some people who love working virtually and love going back to it. And there are other people who are on the exact opposite scale, that by doing this virtual, they feel alone. You got to remember that them coming to work was their social outlet in life. And so we had to remember to build community and make sure that we keep those sorts of things happening, and having a lunch break. I know in several of our companies, the leadership teams decided to have lunch breaks together. It's a virtual lunch break, but it's just people having lunch and chatting to each other during the day. And it's one of those things that kept the community of the people alive. Standards and protocols have had to change in pretty much all of our companies, and we had to communicate those standards, and we have to retrain people. And that's a big part of it. I think that retraining people to the new standards, the new ways. I know one of our businesses, our restaurant, which reopened last night. So you can imagine the stress levels in that particular business. Reopening last night with new training, new ideas for the staff. They have to remember all of their old training, but you know, in the 12 weeks they've been closed, we did do a lot of retraining. We put them through a lot of retraining and that sort of thing, so that, you know, when we did open up, everyone was ready for it type thing. So we know they're not going to be perfectly productive, but we know that they're going to get there. Now, the interesting part for us in that particular business is we did lose approximately 20% of our staff. 20% of our staff didn't want to come back to work. And so we had to go and hire new people, and hiring in a virtual, we'll get to more on that in just a little while. But I think that if you understand that people coming back to work may take a little bit of time, energy, and effort to get them up to speed, if you're understanding of that, then they will get more productive faster and faster. I think that what we have to remember is that reopening will take more work than shutting down did. Reopening will take more energy, effort, and there will be nerves, there will be all of those things. And I think I put a social media post out the other day that is, you know, if you're going to businesses that are opening now, remember that they're nervous. Remember that they have a whole bunch of new protocols and a whole bunch of new things that they have to do. So as a customer, please be patient and be aware that these businesses are going through more change than they've ever experienced. Now, when we reopen, it is important to reopen that you actually give people reasons to come back. It's give people reasons. Now, even if you stayed virtual during this whole thing, even if you weren't fully shut down, even if you stayed open and the whole thing was going great, you still want to celebrate the reopening, celebrate the restart. You still want to do that. So first thing is that you've got to remember that each target audience of yours will need different deals. So you want to approach them with offers, approach them with ways to come back, approach them with reasons to be buying from you again and buying now. The first group you really want to look for is your top 20% of your past customers. Who are that top 20%? And what do I need to do to make sure they are back if they're not already back? I know one of our companies, a commercial cleaning business. Now, we did very well during this period. We had some great new customers join us, and therefore we did very well. But also like our gymnasium customers, you know, we had to keep them because they're great customers. They're daily clean customers for us. And so we had to look at how do we make certain they come back on daily cleans and all that sort of thing. So understanding that what offers are important for your top 20% of your customer base. Next, it's very important to acknowledge the first responders, the hospital workers, the nurses, the doctors, all of the people that and having some sort of an offer for that and making sure the world knows you have an offer for them, because it's important to be recognizing the way the psyche of the community is. Remember, you are part of a community and you have to make certain that you are building that community and doing a great job with it. Next, you got to look at all the rest of your existing customers. What are the offers for them to bring them back? And then you got to start thinking about new customers. How do we get new customers to come and try us out? Because here's the thing to remember. You don't want to get caught flat-footed, but there is a good chance that some of your competitors do get caught flat-footed coming out of this. I'll give you an example here. My gymnasiums were allowed to reopen here about 3 or 4 days ago. And all of the gyms are starting to reopen, but the gym I go to didn't have a plan in place, didn't get it ready, and still won't be open. They haven't even announced an opening date yet. So I'm sitting there looking at it, go, well, maybe I'll try out one of these other gyms. Businesses that get caught flat-footed coming out of this will lose customers. And you, if you're out there marketing, will gain that market share from those businesses if you're out there doing that. So make certain of that. But also keep your offers up for a month. You know, remember, some people are going to come out of this straight away. Others are going to want to take a little bit of time. They're going to be cautious. They're going to watch for a couple of weeks and see that, is there a rebound in cases of the disease and that sort of thing. So watch the psyche of the people in your marketplace. You know, and I apologize, by the way, if I come across too matter of fact about this. I'm not about, I'm a business person. I'm not about the disease. And I do realize this is a human disease, but I'm more about the whole business side of this thing. So I apologize in advance if I do come across too matter of fact around this stuff. By the way, yes, if you do have questions, please type them in. That would be great. Very happy to look at the questions as we get through this. So here we are thinking about the deals we're making. Remember to keep them going. You may want to keep them going for a full quarter. When this thing first started happening, I told everyone it's going to be 90 days in and 90 days out. You need a plan for 90 days of survival, and then you need a plan of 90 days of getting back to thriving. So, you know, 90 days of reopening plan. If you do not have a written reopening plan, please connect with any of my coaches at Action Coach. They will help you build a reopening plan. They will work with you on that. If you don't have a survival plan, if you're still working on the survival part, please get with them immediately. Just jump on actioncoach.com and make sure you do that. Number 4, we need to announce this thing. Listen, if we are clear with our customer base and reopening, announcing it, doing all that stuff, And remember, the media around you are looking for great stories. Now, first thing is, if you know that you've got 2 to 4 weeks before reopening, you need to start announcing things now. You need to start saying, we're looking forward to serving you again. We're looking forward to getting back into out of a virtual environment and back into face-to-face. We're looking forward to this. We're looking forward to that. I literally just had my team asking me, am I going to be coming to the UK in October? And I said, most probably yes. I'll come and do live events in October. But you've got to start building up that excitement with your customers. In your social media, you got to build that excitement. In your database, you got to build that excitement. In phone calls, you got to build that excitement so that they're ready for it. I think that, for us, we've been, as in our restaurant, we've been announcing every step of the way. We would show pictures of the new things that were happening. When we got QR codes for our menu, so when people walk into the restaurant, instead of getting handed a full menu, if they're uncomfortable with touching a menu, they can scan a QR code and the menu pops up on their phone. We would announce that, the innovation. We announced everything that happened step by step by step so that people feel a part of it. We took every team member and announced them coming back to work. People want to see a familiar face. They want to deal with familiars. So, as each team member came back, we took their photo in their mask and we placed it next to a photo of them before this whole thing, and said, if you don't recognize them, here's what they'll look like, and this is who it actually is. So that sort of thing. And, each team member was excited about coming back and did a little short video about that sort of thing. Every deal was announced along the way. All the dates were announced so that whatever we could use to build some sort of momentum, we use that. And it's amazing to see what happens as we open up and keep announcing things. Our customers started to get excited. We saw it because we got given our dates approximately 3 weeks before we were reopened. So by the time we'd finished all of the announcing reopening, our customers they were with us as if they wanted to come back. And last night on reopening, we were fully booked out on our social distance rules of how many we were allowed, but we were fully booked, and everyone stayed. And I know that our customers did over tip us last night. I know that they all did. So that's fantastic. All of the staff got extra last night, and I think they needed that. It felt good to have the staff back at work and have them excited about things. But by announcing it the whole time, it got there. Now, next thing we did last night is we actually had a ribbon cutting. We actually did the full ribbon cutting in front of the business. We announced our reopening. We did a whole thing. We videoed the reopening and put it up there. My business partner did a speech at the ribbon cutting and celebrated our staff and all of the first responders, and just, actually make it a reopening. We everything we're doing. I know one of our other businesses, which is an event business, which of course, as you know, it disappeared after about 1 week. It was gone. And so, but we did a celebration of that business reopening. We celebrated survival. We threw a virtual party and celebrated the survival of the business, that we got through this thing and that we'll be back and starting to plan events and things for people and all that sort of thing. I know our food truck business, because if you could imagine, spring for us is about 50% of annual revenue. The events that happen in spring, all of the festivals and concerts across the country, and of course, they all just totally disappeared. We'll have almost no events in summer. And, we had to reinvent our entire business, but we're doing a big food truck off somewhere about 3 or 4 weeks with all of our trucks, and just having a celebration of survival and, just doing things that make people feel good. Each of the team is celebrated. So over the next month, we have a plan to, bring each of the team in that restaurant back to social media and celebrate all of them coming back in. And also we have a plan for the team to have their own small celebration just for them, to allow them to celebrate being back. We need to stay productive for the first month, and then we'll have a celebration. Customers, every customer that came in last night was featured on social media. Every customer that was there, we took photos with them and thanked them for coming in. And We actually, tomorrow, I believe, we have the local news media in our restaurant celebrating our survival. You know, reach out to the news media. They are looking for stories of businesses that survived and businesses that did well and all of this sort of thing. And now that our restaurant is back open again, we've, you know, doing things to celebrate our community and our first responders. So, you know, it's been a tough time. It's been 12 weeks. People went a little crazy, and we're getting it back. But we're celebrating every little thing we can because people need that right now. They need to feel that way. Next thing that we did in every business is very clearly looked at our numbers. We making certain, because our numbers have changed. The 2 meters, the whole thing, everything changed. So we're doing our accounting more often. We're looking at everything in very fine detail. And if you want one of my coaches to go through your numbers with you, please reach out, because, you know, this is something that is of vital importance in reopening, is that we make certain we have our numbers very clear as to what it is where we're going to make money. Now, on top of that, if, if you did get government money, let's make sure we use that wisely. I've got a few of our clients here in the US that got very good government money and they didn't need it. So it's like, okay, we need to invest that money into our growth, not just waste it on silly things. So let's make sure that we plan that very well. I'm still suggesting to all of our clients, I started suggesting to all of our clients late last year that they start cashing up. Probably third quarter, we started suggesting they cash up. Now, and people were asking me, why are you suggesting this? I said, well, from 2012 to 2020, the global economies were on a bull run, it was economic summer. If you think of it in terms of, if you think of the economies in terms of seasons, the economic summer had run for 8 years. Now, the usual economic cycle is 7 to 10 years. Now, the fact that we had an L-shaped recovery out of 2008, meaning we went down and we just stayed down for quite a long time as a global economy. But by 2020, because 2012 to 2020, we're in boom. And I sat there with my team early in 2020 and said, listen, economically, we should be in for a downturn. We really should. I don't know what's going to cause it, though. We debated what would cause it on a global scale. And we looked at Brexit, obviously, as being one of the major causes. We looked at some of the activity in the Middle East and in Eastern Europe and thought, could that be the cause? Then we looked at North Korea, and then we looked at China versus Taiwan, and then we looked at the US elections, thinking, what is going to cause the economic downturn? Because you can't run that hard and that long in an economy of the globe and not see some sort of signs as to us going back down. And of course, none of us knew it would be a pandemic. And it was like, that's crazy. But luckily for us, we had started getting our clients up, and we always suggest our clients keep a minimum of 3 months costs in cash flow on hand. And so, you know, we were very lucky in that way, is that we had that up and running. But, you know, that's very much a big part of where I'm seeing it. Still keep cash on hand. Don't overspend right now. You do need to do more marketing, but it shouldn't be costly marketing. It should be more education-based marketing. So let's get to that. Marketing and sales right now. And in fact, if you jump on my YouTube channel, I did an entire webinar on virtual and viral marketing. So it's a full hour-long one there. But marketing and sales has to change. If you understand that the psyche or the mentality of people has shifted, we have to shift what we're doing. We can't be marketing in the hard way we used to before. We can't be. Like for me, well, I'll just use our business coaching, Business Action Coach. Within Action Coach, our old marketing methodology is that of, let's help you grow your business. Let's help you work less and do more and make more money. Let's help you build a business that works so you don't have to. And that marketing would come across as insensitive to the situation. So we need to be very clear and move to more, we're here to help. We're here to help every business that needs to survive. I know about week 2 into this, we took every single team member in the world and allocated 5 hours to pro bono business coaching, to helping any business owner that needed help. And, you know, that helping and the education that we do, and educating people as to how to survive this thing, how to thrive. If once you've got a survival plan, then let's move to a thriving plan. And helping and educating became more of the marketing message than benefits. You don't see grocery stores running ads right now of you can buy this cheap. You see them running ads of thanks to our staff and thanks to, you know, these are the sort of messages that we need to make sure that our marketing has shifted. Education becomes a big part of marketing. I know in our commercial cleaning business, I directed our team in that case. I want to see cleaning videos every day. I want to see a video of how to clean metal surfaces, how to clean wood surfaces, what you should be using to clean this, how you should be. And so those videos went viral because people were looking, how do I clean this in my business? How do I do this sort of stuff? And it's won us a lot of business. It got us on a lot of TV shows because we were perceived as the experts. And so, you know, that changed the marketing of our business. I mean, people are still worried. And this point here, more steps. In a worry-based market, people will either purchase much faster or they will take a few steps longer. You know, when there is fear and doubt and concern in the market, you're going to see people wanting to do things a little bit slower in the majority of cases, unless you are something that they need and need now. Like I remember when this thing first looked like it was going the way it was, when Italy was going very bad, I said, this is going to hit us. We need to be virtual. Buy cameras and buy computers that everyone has a camera, because if we have to work from home, everyone's going to need a camera. My staff's usual purchasing process, they said, well, boss, it's going to take this. I said, no, whatever they cost, get them and get them now type thing. And there's that purchase. Then on the other end, when you're buying things that you don't absolutely need, people are going to take a little bit longer and be a little more cautious in the way they go about their purchasing. So be very clear on the fact that your marketing may take longer. Video is going to be more important than ever now. Testimonials are going to be more important than ever now. Reviews, ratings, video testimonials. If you don't have a lot of video testimonials of your customers telling the world how good you are, you're going to need them. So get them done and get them done fast. Because the world is, when there is worry, people take that little bit longer and that little bit more to be able to make decisions and to be able to do things. So, you know, that's going to definitely be something that you're going to need. Joshua, you're sending me a notice of 5 minutes. I thought we were on for a full hour today, buddy. If we are on for a full hour, great. Because I've still got, dang, it was only quoted as 30 minutes. Well, gang, I apologize. I thought we had a full hour to cover off anything here today. Let me quickly race through the last ones. I think that sales get very more customer centric. A few of you are saying, let's have a full hour. Yes, I'm happy to do the full hour if that's what people want. I've allocated a full hour to this. So if people would like that, I'm happy to stay on, Joshua. So apologies for the misunderstanding there. I didn't realize that. Listen, I'll do the full hour if people are okay with that. If you do have to bounce off, we will get you the recording of that. So if that's the case. So I pressed record at the start of this, so it is definitely recording. So we'll make sure we get the full hour for any of you that do have to leave now. Okay, so let's get back to this, the sales process. Your sales is going to need maybe 1 or 2 more steps. If it used to take 4 steps to make a sale, it's going to take 5 or 6. If you do need to leave, we'll get you the recording. Don't panic about that. What we used a lot of this time for in a lot of our businesses is building relationships with people. They weren't ready to buy, but they were ready to inquire. So our databases have been built quite strong. Now it's about going back and following up as we reopen. Let's go back and follow them up and make certain that we do that. So as the last speaker, Joshua's just said, yes, please go for the full hour. My apologies, Stan, for not understanding that. I've been doing more webinars in the last 12 weeks than I've done in my entire life. So I normally would do exactly what was supposed to be. But today, unfortunately, 6 a.m. start, I thought we had the hour. So we've used this time to build massive database in the companies where they weren't ready to buy. And now we're going back to them and following them up. But our salespeople have had to change a little bit. They've had to move to that more understanding of the speed and be a little less aggressive in their stance and a little less pushy in what they're going for. Understand that people are still wanting to buy, but that's definitely the case of what it is that we're looking for. Remember fear and worry, and if you can train to that, then your people will do much better. We've gone to thanking everybody, obviously customers, my team, but we've also sent out thank yous to all of our suppliers and all of our accountants who helped us with government processes and all of the bankers. I have personally written handwritten notes to more people in the last 12 weeks, thanking them than I think I've ever done in my entire life, just to make certain that people know that we are here and we thank them and we do that. Media and even we've had all of our CEOs write letters to politicians. We've had them writing letters to nurses and doctors and hospital managers, to news media that stayed open during this thing. And in many cases to our neighboring businesses, we've thanked them to as well, because you know, it's been a great time where business owners have come together and stayed together. So I think that that's been very, very important part of it. And so thanking people is something that is easy to do right now. It's easy to not do as well. It's easy to forget about and make sure, but let's get that done. So if we look at what this whole thing is starting to do it, as we've now been told of when the restrictions easing and what that looks like, and we've started to really push so that we don't get caught flat-footed. We've started to really think, because by fourth quarter this year, we want to be back in thrive mode. We know that quarter two was like a write-off quarter for many businesses. It's a survive quarter for many businesses. And then quarter three is about getting us back on footing, getting us back driving this ship. And so making certain that we're off and racing. So it was a 90-day survival, as I've said to you so far today. We must plan this thing, because simple mistakes in reopening are going to cost us massively. You know, think about all of the possible things that could go wrong, and really, I'm not a negative thinker, but in this case, I want you to think of, okay, if what could go wrong, what could cause a problem? How do us, like even simple things. One of our business, we had to look at customer flow. When they come in the door, where are they going to want to be? How do we get them waiting? How do we get them, you know, because they've got to wait outside type thing. What are we going to do for them while they're waiting outside, et cetera, et cetera. So think of all the things that could go wrong and do that stuff. So here's and you can screenshot this if you want to, but here's basically in warm up, we're in, now these aren't the phases of reopening. This was just my phases when I first started this thing, of saying, where are we at and how do we go through? So in the warm up phase, you've got to look at the things you should be doing and getting ready so that you are open for this thing. So that the sprint phase, you are ready for it. You've got everything and the team are there and the team are strong. So that is definitely a part of what is going through. So that by the time you get to the compete and get back to growth phase in quarter four, maybe quarter three, you can get back to that level. And when I say quarter three, I mean the annual quarters of the year. But look to the business and keep moving forward with it. Okay, so normally I would take a bunch of time for questions. Let me just see. I do have one question here. Fast forward to June 2021. Next year, what does your business portfolio look like, leaner and fitter? I think literally for us right now, we are in the opportunity phase. My businesses, we got them all into a survival mode fairly quickly within this thing. Probably within 4 to 5 weeks, every business was in survival mode. We started Thrive plans about week 6 of this thing. So most of our businesses are in Thrive mode at this point, or moving towards that, so that with reopenings, with everything that happens, we've changed, we've pivoted, we're ready to do that. Most of our businesses are leaner right now. That is true because of our cost basis. You know, we've done even simple things like analyze our costs of our insurance. We literally, every company went to insurance. Our CFO of all of our companies took all the companies through new insurance processes and through this and that, because we wanted to change our insurance. And we have added pandemic insurance to what we have future to be able to have that. We want to be like the people at Wimbledon who after SARS had that. Look, I think you will come through this thing either fitter or fatter. You're either going to be much healthier as a business, or you're going to come through it worse off as a business. And it takes planning to come through these things faster and harder. Joshua, thank you so much for your time today. Apologies again for running over time. Apologies for doing that. Gang, if you need any help, please reach out to my team at Action Coach. We're here, we're practicing what we preach, and we are socially distanced, but we're definitely helping every business we can get through this. The only way for an economy to survive is for every business to survive. So thank you so much, and really appreciate all your time here today. Thank you, Joshua.